Allende in power moved to carry out some of the key components of the Popular Unity program. U.S.-owned copper mines were nationalized. Furthermore, during 1971, most textile, metallurgical, cement, fishing, and domestic electrical enterprises became part of the social production complex. All of this, together with the nationalization of monopoly enterprises and the seizure of banks, was giving the state a commanding role in the economy. Bourgeois and imperialist interests were being threatened by the Allende government. Even the land reform, which had stalled under Frei, was beginning to pick up under Allende. There was also a growing development in the class struggle that was spilling beyond the bounds of legality. These actions did not go unopposed by the bourgeoisie, both inside and outside Chile. Chile was being denied credit from abroad. Far-right groups were attacking supporters of the government. The military in cahoots with the CIA was moving in the direction of a coup. Nationalized property was being sabotaged. The opposition was doing everything possible in the legislature to slow Allende down. For the movement of the revolutionary left, they did not let their earlier cautious support of Allende keep them from playing an active role in the class struggle. For instance, Allende was hoping to carry out a steady and gradual land reform in the countryside. Yet the Mir group in the countryside pushed for seizures, which led to clashes. Allende was calling for order, but told Mir members behind the scenes to continue their seizures to push the reform forward. The Mir was putting into effect their strategy of mass action and raising consciousness. Allende's coalition partners, not to mention the landowners, were against Mir action, although the socialist left supported them. Although Allende was nationalizing large swaths of capitalist industry, the movement of the revolutionary left did not believe that enlarging the state sector was the same as socialism, in contrast to the Communist Party. The movement of the revolutionary left did not believe that state capitalism was adequate, but needed to be transformed by a revolutionary political program aimed at the destruction of the bourgeoisie state itself. The movement of the revolutionary left wanted to bring the question of workers' power to the forefront. For example, in April 1971, the workers at the Yarur textile plant seized control. They asked to be incorporated into the state sector of the economy. This was the first time that the workers, not the state, had taken over a factory. It was an example that would soon be imitated by others across Chile. The seizure at Yarur put Allende in a difficult position. He could either return the factory to its owners or accept the workers' demands. Members of the Socialist Party and the Mir were pushing for more. In early 1971, the movement of the revolutionary left strategy among the workers was organizing its Revolutionary Workers' Front in the mines and factories of Chile, pressing for worker seizures of the means of production as the best way to ensure their rapid socialization. Although the Mir greeted the Yarur movement with enthusiasm, they admitted that they couldn't compete with the Popular Unity parties there. Their support in the Union elections, along with their left allies, was about 25%. The consciousness of the Yarur workers was also limited in the extent that they believed that the armed forces would stay neutral in the developing class struggle. By September 1972, the government was going on the defensive. The bourgeoisie was organizing its forces in the media and in the streets. The economy was facing a downturn with growing inflation and a shortage of goods. The opposition and the CIA believed that time was quickly approaching to bring Allende down. The truck owners were mobilized, and their unions began a major stoppage in October. Soon employers across Chile were joining the offensive, prompting a major lockout. Yet the bourgeoisie's actions brought forth a great response from the workers, and the Mir found themselves in the thick of it. Soon after the strike began, most of the country's industries were in the hands of the workers. Faced with the employer lockout, they showed in practice that the production process did not need bosses. The employer strike had created a single enemy in the minds of the workers, which in response brought about a greater unity among the workers. Since the lockout created supply problems, the workers formed the cordones. These cordones controlled distribution and transportation. To the movement of the revolutionary left, the cordones were embryonic Soviets, popular power developing in the midst of the growing class struggle. Yet the less radical Popular Unity parties and workers saw the cordones as existing in order to protect state-run enterprises. The Communist Party and most of the Popular Unity saw the cordones merely as instruments of local power. They didn't want them to supplant the state. By the end of October, the strike had failed and was called off. The strike had not only led to a great defeat of the opposition, but it clearly shown that the class struggle was reaching a critical level. Popular power developed that could conceivably sweep away the bourgeois state and push for a socialist advance. Yet the end of the strike meant that the government turned the helm sharply to the right, and the cordones, for lack of impetus from the Popular Unity parties, languished without concrete tasks, despite the efforts of the movement of the revolutionary left, which did not succeed in broadening its base in the industrial working class. Other forms of popular power in the shanty towns and in the countryside, which were being championed by the movement of the revolutionary left, were not promoted by the popular unity. The Communist Party and other popular unity parties, with some exceptions, remained committed to a legal road and acted as a brake on the revolutionary process. In contrast to the hopes of the Socialist Party left, the popular unity in state power was siding against the masses and seeking a compromise with the Christian Democratic Party. The Mir was also worried about the growing threat of a military potential coup. The Mir knew from their Marxist training and the actual behavior of the Chilean military that the armed forces were a pillar supporting the ruling classes. They would not long tolerate chaos in Chile, but would step in to restore order. They rejected any notion that the army was above politics, unlike the Communist Party and Allende, and knew that a decisive clash would come with them. From the moment of Allende's election, the Mir said that they would develop a military apparatus to defend the electoral victory of the left. In that regard, they were developing significant capacity and training their members along with building up armed caches. Yet the Mir wasn't so stupid as to provoke a confrontation. They had everything to lose from a premature confrontation with the army. As the situation in Chile grew more polarized in July and August of 1972, it pushed the Christian Democrats farther to the right. The Communist Party was continuing to condemn the movement of the revolutionary left, and now members of the Socialist Party were being expelled for belonging to the movement of the revolutionary left. The police were also launching raids against the Mir, and resulting in the death of a militant at one point. The military also had Oswaldo Romo, an agent provocateur, inside the Mir. In October 1972, the Popular Unity passed a law aimed against the movement of the revolutionary left in order to rein in armed groups. The Mir's intelligence had also alerted them to coup plans in the army, and they began actively organizing to stop them. The military would raid arms caches of the movement of the revolutionary left throughout July through September of 1973. The Mir also let it be known to the Popular Unity in July 1973 that they were willing to defend Allende against a coup attempt. Yet they sought popular mobilization in order to thwart a coup, even going so far as to contemplate their own preemptive strike despite not having enough manpower. Around this time, the Socialist Party left and others were converging with the Mir. The wider left was not converging around the Mir, though, but remained committed to Allende and the legal road. Castro was not helpful in arming the Mir either. He was wholeheartedly on the side of Allende. Yet the Mir also had hopes of splitting the military. They met with sailors in the summer of 1973, who were planning to seize warships in the case of a coup. Yet the military uncovered the cell on August 10th and had the officers arrested and tortured. It was a hope of the Mir that friendly officers and soldiers would act against the coup and that Mir members in the army could win over the soldiers. Furthermore, the Mir wanted these friendly officers to give them access to military arsenals so that they could distribute weapons to loyalist troops and launch a preemptive strike. Miguel Enriquez was also saying that non-commissioned officers, rank and file, and policemen should disobey orders given by officers involved in a coup, and in that case, all forms of struggle will be legitimate. At the same time, Mir members were already being smuggled out of Chile. Yet military intelligence was also moving into high gear. The Mir was seen as an active threat. Not only were Mir-friendly soldiers arrested and tortured, but there were continued assaults on arms caches. By September 11, 1973, the Mir's worst prophecies came true. The military rose under Augusto Pinochet into power. Despite sporadic resistance, the country was soon under firm lockdown, with jackboots at the throats of the population. The Mir now had to steel themselves for the long struggle ahead. In the end, there was no socialist revolution in Chile. Several factors were responsible. 1. The left was disunited and lacked a clear vanguard party. 2. This leftist disunity was further hampered by those on the left more concerned with legality than revolutionary struggle. 3. This helped to contribute to the weakness of the developing organs of popular power in Chile. 4. On the other hand, there was a greater determination and unity of the bourgeoisie to protect their class interests. The Mir tried to press the revolution forward, but ultimately failed. Now Chile was ruled by the gun. Torture, concentration camps, and murder became the order of the day. Thousands of supporters of the Allende government and movement of the revolutionary left disappeared in the opening days of military rule. Chile's experiment in a peaceful transition to socialism was replaced by the brutal imposition of capitalism. Pinochet was determined that the left should be wiped clean and declared a war on Marxism. One of his primary targets was the Mir, who he declared must be tortured. Without torture, they don't sing. Now that Pinochet was in power, all illusions about reformism could be laid to rest. The guerrilla struggle which had lain dormant during the Allende years could be taken up. Yet the Mir was not alone in its insistence on armed struggle. Shortly after the Allende coup, the Mir came together with like-minded revolutionaries to coordinate their struggle. The Revolutionary Coordinating Junta, JCR, was formed comprising the Mir, the Argentine People's Revolutionary Army, the Bolivian National Liberation Army, and the Tupamaros from Uruguay. All of these organizations were based in countries that either were or would soon experience brutal military rule. The JCR was formed to coordinate international revolution in the face of an international enemy, i.e. imperialism. The JCR would create a logistical, financial, and military support for revolutionaries. The JCR was pushing for the Mir to launch an offensive against Pinochet fairly soon. Yet the military regimes of Latin America quickly clamped down hard on the JCR and its affiliates. Military and intelligence coordination among the Southern Cone states had begun fairly soon after Pinochet's coup. In November 1975, this cooperation was formalized with the development of Operation Condor by Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Brazil, along with the approval and support of the USA. All of these regimes faced left opposition of one kind or another, and were determined to wipe it out. Through the Condor system, these states would share intelligence on subversives target, i.e., torture and kill subversives, in the Southern Cone and across the world. Whatever else can be said about it, the Condor states operated a ruthlessly efficient system that nearly wiped out their opponents. Chilean intelligence moved rapidly against the movement of the revolutionary left. This was in contrast to the caution of the movement of the revolutionary left in launching their armed struggle against Pinochet. The torture and breaking of Mir operatives in October 1974 led to the location of Mir leader Miguel Enriquez, who was still in Chile. Enriquez was killed in a shootout, eliminating one of the most visible faces and leaders of the Mir. However, the Mir still had another set of leaders who were still planning to return to Chile and launch an armed struggle. Andreas Pascal and others were meeting in October 1975 with other Mir leaders in Chile in order to coordinate the struggle. Again, Chilean intelligence discovered their location and there was a shootout. Pascal and others managed to escape the country, but their leadership was neutralized for a second time. Chilean intelligence also captured a large swath of documents, military hardware, and was able to compromise the Mir's underground. The continuing repression was clearly taking a toll on the Mir. By late 1975, the Mir had about 10 to 15% of its total hardcore militancy left intact in Chile. The Mir has been effectively eliminated within Chile. Yet the organization was continuing to fight on. Now, Eduardo Enriquez, brother of Miguel, a Mir leader based in Buenos Aires, took over leadership of the group. He already had bold plans to launch armed struggle in Chile. Mir members in Argentina were already receiving military training with the People's Revolutionary Army. Alas, it was not to be. In March of 1976, the Argentine military took over from a faltering civilian regime. Leftists, including many members of the Mir, were rounded up by the Condor regime and disappeared. Eduardo Enriquez was captured by Argentine security and transported to Chile on April 10, 1976. For a third time, the top leadership of the Mir was out of action. Yet the Mir remained unconquered. In 1980, the Mir drew up plans for a popular guerrilla war in southern Chile. An area was chosen due to the presence of the indigenous population and a large and explosive rural proletariat among the sawmill workers of the region. On the 12th of July, 1980, the Mir sent the first unit of its newly formed guerrilla group to the mountainous area. Most of the guerrillas had been detained in 1973 and had to enter illegally into Chile from their exiled countries abroad. The FOCO was discovered by the authorities in July 1981, when it had been active for less than 1 year. The Chilean army succeeded in isolating the group in August 1981, and in October of the same year its last members were captured. The guerrillas are claimed to have been captured, tortured, and executed. Another 6 died in combat and during ambushes. Following this attempt, the MIR continued its armed struggle against Pinochet, engaging in shootouts with the police, soldiers, and engaging in bank robbery. By the time Pinochet stepped down in 1989, the MIR ceased its armed struggle. In the end, the movement of the revolutionary left was a bold attempt to struggle for socialism in Chile. The movement of the revolutionary left early on committed itself to revolutionary popular power in Chile. The MIR remained a vibrant part of the mass movements that developed in Chile during the Allende years. They recognized more clearly than most left-wing supporters of Allende that the peaceful road to socialism was doomed to failure. However, they were unable to unify the left in the face of a determined bourgeois military opposition. The movement of the revolutionary left struggled valiantly against the military regime of Pinochet, proving to be quite a phoenix. Ultimately, they were unable to topple Pinochet on their own. For all their failures, the movement of the revolutionary left can still teach us a great deal about unyielding and heroic commitment to socialism in the face of the worst adversity.